Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Stephanie Warlick. She is the founder and CEO of 5 Foot View Consulting, supports small and medium businesses as fractional CEOs, integrators, and HR executives building rock solid foundations to scale their startups. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to speaking with you today.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Stephanie. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll learn from you about scaling one small business. So we'll learn about all this, but let's first learn about a bit more about your background, your journey, so that people know but more about who they are listening to.
Thank you. I've been in small business and family-owned business all my life. I can remember sitting on weekends supporting my dad in his construction company, running model homes at age 14, and I love it. I think that family that works together like that, I've seen nothing but positive. So I grew up with an entrepreneurial mindset, and that has propelled me to start 4 different businesses throughout my career, each very different. Um, and then also work in the corporate space because I needed to get out of small business for a little bit. There's pros and cons of running your own business. And there is some stress to generating your income. You only eat what you kill, and that can be a little stressful. So I did go into the corporate space, and I'm back to running small businesses because at age 50, I said what I love to do is run small businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Stephanie, to understand, in terms of small businesses, as we step into 2025, what are the challenges for small businesses in today's time? You see, earlier a lot of challenge was in terms of integrating a lot of things. Then automation came in. Now we have got AI coming in, and now you got Sora also got launched. So you got lots of videos that you were earlier on struggling to make for your small business. So how do you see those challenges? Will they be different when we get into 2025?
I think the challenges that small businesses are going to see are in large part the same challenges that small businesses have always seen, and that is competing with larger companies that have more revenue to market, more budget to market, and hiring qualified staff that are multi-skilled and multi-talented that are required in small businesses because many people have to wear many hats in the expectation that individuals in small businesses, I guess what I'm saying is in small businesses, you can't afford a ton of staff. So, today I'm the janitor and the customer service team and maybe the accountant. Tomorrow I'm something else. And that continues to be the challenge, is to find qualified staff that you can rely on.
Absolutely. So we'll come to the fractional part a bit later on, but first to understand then, how do one build this strong foundation, organization, rock solid organizational foundation for a small business when they themselves are trying to uh, do a lot of changing a lot of times, because they got to be
Yeah.
very nimble and whatever, so nimble footed, so they can move around and make those changes. So what is this rock solid foundational strategy that one can adopt? Is it a good strategy? What do you mean by a rock solid organizational foundation?
What I mean by a rock solid foundation is understanding what your goal is for the year, for 3 years, for 5 years, making sure that everyone in the team is on the same page about driving toward those goals, and that the actions and priorities that they take on a daily basis align with achieving those goals, that you have a team that works from the same foundation of core values so that you can refer to them on a regular basis. It's really all about individuals being on the same team and then helping small business owners understand that they need to get out of the daily weeds of the organizational operations, delegate and elevate themselves as well as on other staff members to optimize everyone's skills and abilities to achieve the daily priorities, the daily, monthly, all of those priorities.
Right, right, Stephanie. So that's a lot of work. Who does this work? Because a small business is a small business is a small business. They have to look at, serving the customer, gaining, foothold into the market, compete with the big people, big guys down there. And so who has the time? How do you do
Yeah,
it? Well,
yeah,
when does someone like Stephanie come in? As soon as I start the business, as I am, or I am drowning at that point in time, what is the best time
right.
for this?
That's a great question. I love how you tied that answer with the next question. Um, so I would say up to about $1 million. And when the small business owner or solopreneur is, working night and day, they do need to start to look at delegating. And the fastest, easiest way to get expert help in is to delegate to a fractional executive. So whether that's a chief marketing officer, an accountant, a CFO, or a fractional COO, you can get very skilled people to help move your business along at a very low cost and low effort in terms of hours. So a fractional executive tends to work anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a week. It could be a month, but gives a small business owner the experience of someone that is 30 years in the industry to really start to propel their business forward and relieve those daily burdens because they either don't have time or maybe they don't have the skill set to run a business. Lots of small business owners come in because we'll just take a cobbler, the old example. This person is great at designing shoes and making shoes, but has no idea how to run a business, no idea how to market, no idea how to perform social media marketing, and maybe doesn't even know logistics about the actual distribution channels. So hiring in those fractional individuals is really a great way to start to exceed the current expectations and get to the next level.
Absolutely. And you talk about, the owner mindset. What is this owner
Mm.
mindset for a owner? I thought he knows that he is the owner, he or she is the owner. What is this extra thing called mindset?
Oh, thank you. Well, the owner mindset is actually not for the owner, it's for the people the owner counts on. Well, I attempt to train individuals on what it is like to be an owner and have the entrepreneurial spirit, and teach individuals how to grow their entrepreneurial spirit so that they can better serve the organization and the owner. So, for instance, two of the key owner mindset concepts are creativity, which can be developed, and risk analysis and mitigation. So, an individual that is inexperienced in business comes in, they're like, what the heck is risk mitigation? That is the ability to look at risks and challenges and not run away from them, but tackle them head on, like an entrepreneur does, and say, "I'm not afraid of that. This is what we're going to do to overcome that challenge, mitigate risk, and get through these hurdles." So owner mindset is about teaching individuals how to be successful by thinking like an entrepreneur.
Right. So if my employee thinks like an owner, the first thing he will think that he's his own boss and he will stop working. How do I make sure that he is learning correctly?
Well, I guess I'd go back to say that's probably not in alignment with the organizational core values. But I guess we want people to work independently. We want people to be proactive. And the way to do that is to make sure that there's clear roles and responsibilities, clear accountability. An owner does need people to take initiative. And so while they may not think that they're the owner in terms of a financial standpoint, we do want them to feel the responsibility of running the business and saying my actions every day determine whether this business is successful or not. That's the spirit of the ownership that we want the employees to feel, so that everybody's invested in the same goals and outcomes, because if the company's successful, individuals will be successful.
Right, right. Let's look at it from a practical level. An employee always thinks of looking for a new place with better job prospects. How do you? Because you need to give them something
Yeah.
when you are talking of something else. A long-term program for them, a long-term career goal for them in terms of incentives and all. As a small business, do you have that much of bandwidth to promise something you know to your employee? It will be very difficult for a small business to do so. If you do, perhaps you will be lying. If you don't do, then you are not getting that owner mindset, because there might be a time very soon when you have to let go that employee, and the employees will say, listen, 3 days back you told me I should have an owner ownership mindset. These are practical situations, and it keeps on happening, like it happens with the big companies, that few days back they say you are a very important part of the organization, then they fire them, and that is why there is this great resignation and quiet quitting on. So we should not run away from the practical aspect of whatever business or life, and that is hence this question to you, Stephanie.
Yeah. So I think the person that you're describing is not a person I'd have in my organization, first of all. So I think it really comes down to, again, hiring a person that is a team player, that supports the organization and the owner and is there, and the owner recognizes the value that they contribute and rewards them. And so as we think about this owner mindset concept, I would say share the profits of the company so that there really is an investment. Help the person develop their skills and abilities. We don't want to keep people in the same low level position forever. We want them to grow. We want them to mature. And if they move on because it's the best thing for them, then that's great. If they can't move on and mature, and they don't align with the values of the company and support the owner, then they're not a person we want to have there anyway. So there's definitely a component of attitude and loyalty that I'm hearing here, and that's something that, as an HR executive, I would interview strongly to make sure that the person really is a core value fit.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to your method. Stand in the gap method. I've always learned about you mind the gap, rather stand in the gap. If you stand in the gap, you fall down. That's what I learned from the metro stations that we have here. Tell us a bit about stand in the gap method. How does it help small business owner? Who has to fall in that gap? Or it's not about falling, it's all about better things.
Yeah, I would love to answer that, but let me ask you a question first. What do you mean by mind the gap?
Mind the gap means when you step down and there is this gap, if you don't mind it, then you might slip and fall down. So that is why perhaps they say mind the gap, be aware
Okay.
at that point in time.
All right. Well, I think there's components of mind the gap that are similar. When I say stand in the gap, and I can't take credit for coming up with that phrase, my former COO that I absolutely adore, named Michelle, she came up with the phrase because I would come to her and say, this isn't being done in the organization, and that lack of work being done is impacting my success. Can I please take those actions and those responsibilities? And I did that for a couple reasons. One, because it was directly impacting my success for the other product work that I had to complete. But also, I was always looking to gain additional roles and responsibilities within the organizations where I was, to improve my own skills and abilities and to go over and above the base expectations of what was on my job description. So she would say to me, Steph, if you want to stand in the gap, have at it all day long. I have your back. So it is a part of the owner mindset as well, where I teach individuals to stand in the gap and look at what is not being done well, look at what is not being done at all by anyone because the position is not filled. Look at where you can make improvements and add value, and keep your ear to the ground about the needs of the leadership. Words like I need, we don't have, I want, and not just leadership, customers. Organic growth can happen through listening to these key words and standing in the gap. And if one stands in the gap, they continue again to develop their skills and they become a problem solver for the organization or the client. And man, that is so powerful to grow business and grow your customers' faith in you that you can add value to the organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's understand a bit more about things fractional. Your company's you are the CEO of 5 Foot Consulting. What is this 5 foot? Why not 4 feet? Why not 6 foot? Why 5 foot? Help us understand this.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't actually know why I picked 5 versus 2 or 4 because I usually do like even numbers. But conceptually, many folks know about the 25,000 foot view or the 30,000 foot view. That means the strategic outlook, right? We're looking down the road at strategy. I can perform strategy, but what I found as a small business owner is I did not need one more person to give me a 3-inch binder of how to perform strategy. I needed someone by my side helping me tackle the operational, the tasks, the fires, the challenges of every day. So 5 foot is the opposite of the 25 or 30,000 foot view. It's I'm in the weeds, operating on a tactical basis, putting out fires on a daily basis with owners. That's why I named it 5 foot view. There is a small interesting tidbit about that. Someone said, "Is it because you're 5 foot?" And I am 5'5", but no, that wasn't why I did it.
Right, right. Maybe. So I want to understand from you. In 2025, all these, fractional executive roles. Do you think the demand will grow because a lot of companies would want to do it? Will it be because of the expertise, or will it be because it will cost them less than hiring a full-fledged person?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's absolutely growing. Fractional executive support is on the rise. You could call it part-time. Some people don't recognize the phrase fractional, but it is both because of the low financial commitment. It is typically not a long-term commitment. It gives you an opportunity to test an executive out to see how that feels. Do you jive with that person? Can they fit in? What do you really need? Because sometimes small business owners don't know what they need. They might think they need a CFO when what they really need is a COO and just outsource to an accountant. So it is a financial testing ground as well as testing out an individual for those operations, and with the expertise like we talked about, because sometimes a small business owner really is still figuring out what they need to be successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to understand, about your then book itself, Dark and Silent Office. Help us
Thank you.
understand why Dark and Silent Office. Tell us a bit about your book. What can
Yeah.
small business owners learn from your book, or is it about something else?
Yeah, they can learn a lot from my book. Thanks for asking. So I stood in the gap and I realized that as a senior executive of a company with years of experience in HR, about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, that I had no idea how to communicate with my peers that were blind and deaf. And I was embarrassed and ashamed. Here I was, this HR leader, and I needed to communicate with individuals that I couldn't just send a document to because they couldn't read it on their computer. Their screen reader did not have the capability to read my document because it was not accessible. Or I would print something out and hand a form out to individuals. Or I'm presenting to my staff that were hearing impaired and they couldn't hear me because I didn't turn on captions on my meetings. And so when I left the particular organization that I was in, again, standing in the gap, I said, this is crazy. I have 30 years of executive experience in HR and leading companies. And if I don't know how to communicate with individuals with these disabilities, then I know that it's widespread. And so I wrote a book to be a really quick and easy, non-technical guide about how businesses, small businesses in particular, because small businesses usually can't afford the high expense of making everything digitally accessible. But the book talks about small actions that individuals can take, like turning on captioning, like making sure that there's high color contrast, choosing fonts that are readable, choosing a font size that's readable, all of those little things that are low tech, low cost to add accessibility for digital content into the workplace, so that hopefully we can continue to spread the word about the importance of digital accessibility to be more inclusive in the workplace.
Absolutely. And then there is a new book also, if I understand, in the pipeline on owner mindset.
Yes, I'm going to take all those years of practice of working on this entrepreneurial spirit and the things that I train individuals on while I coach, and I want to give a method and a prescription to small businesses to say, here, teach your people what you need from them. We don't learn in school how to think like an owner. We learn tactical things to do, and we learn formulas, and we learn theories and methodology. And so much of that is not applicable to the actual work that we perform. I want to teach people things that they can do to improve their mindset and their skills to be more valuable to the workplace.
Absolutely. There is so much to learn from you, Stephanie, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn more about you, about your company, 5 Foot Consulting, and lot of things to learn from your book. One is the present book, one is the future book. So, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
StephanieWarlick.com has all of my access points from speaking to 5 Foot View and access to the book as well.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me.